for authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be the Cajun Ghost Hunter, if I can manage to raise him on the phone. I've just tried to call him 2 or 3 times, and it would show the ring, but I wouldn't hear it, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then it would disconnect. And I see that my guest is in the chat room, so I'm thinking that he could probably hear me and hoping that he will call me. Did you get it? Huh. And I don't see your mother logged in. Okay. Now, folks, while we're waiting on Stan to call in, I'd like to let everybody know that starting Thursday the 20th, I'm going to be teaming up with Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and my network's going to do a weekly appearance over there, a 2-hour slot from 2 to 4 Central Standard Time. And I'm going to be lining up, actually I've already got a couple of guests lined up to get me through the end of this month over there. And I would love to have you folks join me over there, and I think you'll like the chat room. It's already got a load of people filling it up. Give you somebody to talk to, make it easy for you to ask questions, and the whole 9 yards. Don't forget, also, I've recently, right below the chat room, added a app for Android. And I might have something in the making real soon for iPhone. I found something for $6 a month if I can squeeze it into the budget. Don't sound like a lot, but in today's economy, you'd be surprised. Now, there was something else new going on that I also wanted to mention as well. Oh, yes. Right now, the only player I have working at my site is Windows Media Player, and the last time I checked, it is only working on in Google Chrome. So, I'm working on Flash players from Muse. Part of my problem has been that recently there was a Internet Explorer upgrade. During the upgrade, the new Internet Explorer does not accept plugins for like Flash anymore, which makes it hard for me to understand why when I add the Muse's Flash player, it shows up in Internet Explorer, but I'm not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm still having difficulty, though, because when I enter the URL, I should hear sound coming from it, and I don't hear sound coming from it, and I don't know why. So I plan to work on that this week, and if I can get the Muse player working, then I should have a player for every browser as well as for Mac, which would put us in good shape over here, especially after I get the iPhone connection up. So don't give up on me, folks. I'm still working on this and trying to iron out all the kinks. In the meantime, please install Google Chrome and feel free to listen in on the Google Chrome through Windows Media Player. Now, I have given my guests the... Wait a minute. I didn't see that. He gave me a number to call him at. Okay, let's see if he can... Oh, I hear him ringing now. Stanley, did you answer?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, evidently that second number you give me is working, but the first one is not.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I tried calling you just now on the first one, and it just rang and rang. Nothing's connecting.
So evidently then it was not my equipment, it was on your end, we just didn't know it.
I guess so.
Well, I looked in the chat room, I says, wait a minute, he gave me a number to call and I didn't see it. So, all right, we're live now, that's the important thing, and we can continue on with the show. I gotta tell you, you've sent me something like 53 EVPs to listen to.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we have some to choose from.
Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask you while I'm thinking about it, did you get the review that I told you I left for you over at Amazon on your book?
Yes, I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Royce.
Okay, just want to make sure you knew about it. Okay. Now, folks, if y'all would like to learn a little bit more about Stanley and listen to more of his EVPs than just the ones we got here, because we're not playing the whole batch here, we'd be here quite a while. His website is www.CajunGhostHunter.com. We will be sharing quite a few of these with you, however, give you a kind of a taste in this. And of course, we're recommending that you get his book, and it'll give you all the background information about each and every one of these EVPs. He's got them marked on the website so you can know which ones go with which chapters or which sections of the books to help you keep up with it and give you an idea of what you're listening to while you're actually reading it at the same time. So, Stanley, you said you had some new things going on, new EVPs and that. You've been busy lately?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I just recently went back to Woodland Plantation last week when we had the ice storm down here. And I captured some really good stuff there with I actually did Echovox applications there and had a lot of success with it. But we've also, in November, my wife Barbara and we had gone to Grand Cayman and spent a week down there. And I just had so much activity down there on both my recorders and my cameras. It was outrageous, really and truly, because I couldn't believe all the stuff that I captured on all of my equipment.
Okay, now you said on your camera, so I take it you got some pictures on your website?
Actually, I made some EVPs, overlaid videos from the camera. I picked up disembodied voices on my camera. What happened was we had gone to the Lighthouse Park. It's at the east end of Grand Cayman, where they had a major shipwreck back in the 1800s. It was called the Wreck of the Tinsale. And when you park out on the road and you walk up these steps, and the steps are like about 3 feet in width, and you go up maybe about 40 steps, and you're up at the top of a hill where they used to have a lighthouse. And they had an old gas kerosene lighthouse up there that they decommissioned, and they put an electric one in front of it. It's basically just a flashing light now. But they put a wall around it, okay, and they put some little monuments all around there talking about the history of the lighthouse and the history of the Wreck of the Tinsale. And a little bit to the left of the stairs as you're going up there, halfway up the hill, they have a monument. It's like 4 posts with a canopy on top of it, and they actually have a couple of graves in front of there that are unmarked, okay? So while I'm up there and I'm doing a EVP session on the old lighthouse, Barbara's standing up in the front near the wall looking down towards these graves. And while she's just standing there, all of a sudden, the earth gives way under her left foot. She sinks down about 6 inches, and she said she looks down, and the ground was like bubbling up around her foot, and she pulled her foot out of there, and she felt like a snake was trying to get her or something, okay? So she said she grabbed a stick and poked around in there, and nothing was happening. So then she comes running over to me, and then she says this. She actually evoked one of my EVPs that I did from the Woodland Plantation. She tells me, she goes, "I called them up from hell myself. Come see that." I said, "Well, baby, what are you talking about?" She goes, "I was standing over there," and she said, "and something tried to get me." I said, "What?" I said, so we went over there, and I looked at it, and sure enough, you could see you could see the little hole in the ground where her foot had sank. And I said, maybe you just had a vision when you saw the earth bubbling down there. She goes, "No." She goes, "It was real." So, anyway, the next day we had gone back to our hotel. Okay, we went back, and when we were going to eat at this little restaurant called The Vines. It's right before the Lighthouse Park. So we were heading towards town, and I said, let's stop so I can take some pictures. I said, I want to take some pictures of where your foot sank, because I didn't get any pictures that day. I forgot to take some pictures. So just in case, anything shows up on the EVPs that I took, I'll have something, to overlay them on, some pictures from the place, So I went up there and I took some pictures. And of course, while I was there, I went ahead and I did a spirit box session. So I turned my camera on, put it in video mode, and did a spirit box session. And when my spirit box session was over, I turned off spirit box, and I still had the camera on. So I told the spirits, I said, I said, my camera's still on. I'm getting ready to turn it off. If you have anything to say, come say it to this blinking red light right here. Needless to say, I had a voice, a disembodied voice. They said, "I am Cola Embryon here." So when I processed it, when I heard this on my camera, I put it into Audacity. I processed it, and I did the reverse speech of it. In the reverse speech, he says, "Stay, play with me, don't walk down." So altogether it says, "I am Cola Embryon here, stay, play with me, don't walk down." That was pretty awesome.
And that was an easy to make out EVP?
Oh, yeah.
I take it that's in one of the ones that you sent me this morning?
I'm not sure. If it's not, I'm going to send it to you right now. If you want to play it in a little while, I'll give that to you right away.
Okay, well, I tell you what, in the meantime, we can give them a quick sample. Do you have a preference of which one you'd like to hear me run on here first?
Yeah, because I had written in my email this morning, that a lot of people, even a lot of investigators that are out there in the paranormal world, when they look at and they see the radio sweep technology, they think that you can. These are radio stations that you're just picking up radio frequency, radio signals. You're picking up music, voices, and whatnot. And because they're overlapping, you're just hearing what you want, essentially pareidolia. So I have for your viewers out there, my pen name is Stanley Jolets. My real name is Stanley Wroblewski. Okay, whenever I go out in public, or whenever somebody reads my name and asks me, "What is your," they'll try to say my name, Stanley Wroblewski, Stanley Wroblewski, and what I'm trying to get across is that not even the living can pronounce my name without me phonetically saying it for them so that they can pronounce it correctly. And here, in this EVP that you're getting ready, I want you to play, they say my last name. They say my son's first name of Philip. They say my son's last name, Wroblewski, clear as can be. It's just totally amazing. And so what I'm asking you to play is Philip Wroblewski.
Might take me a minute to come to it. It's all in one list here, so you have to do it in order it comes.
It's in the one here I sent you this morning. I think it's under the Patrick Drive, Helmsville.
I found it.
Patrick Drive, yeah.
Got it right here. Alrighty. Now, Stanley, I'm going to tell you right now, you probably ain't going to be able to hear this. I've been told that before. I think it's because the way Sims is designed that you're supposed to mute the microphone while you play the music box end or the, you know, and, I haven't been doing it. I've just been, playing it, and that way it just comes out on the, well, you could probably hear it at the site, but then it might create an echo, in other words. But let me go ahead and play it, and I'll let you know when it's through.
What's the name of that boy in the room across on the other side of the house? What's his name?
Okay, yeah, I was able to make that out. It was pretty, I don't know what's the right word I'm looking for that one. That's kind of a hard name to pronounce, and it come out on an EVP pretty clear.
Yes. And the story behind that, Royce, is that one day here in my house we were having a thunderstorm, and so the electricity was going out. So I went ahead and I said, well, I can't do any work because I work out of my house. So I went in my bedroom and I was doing some EVPs. So when I asked the spirits, my son was on the other side of the house. He was playing a video game. I said, who's that boy on the other side of my house? And they just said his name. That's Jolet Wroblewski. Just clear as could be. It's just amazing.
Now, you're going to have that one up at your website available for future reference, too, right?
Yeah, that's on my website.
You're going to have all of them up
under the chapter Patrick Drive. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they're all up there.
And I'm checking to see if that other one happened to come in the mail. In the meantime...
I just now sent it.
Oh, you just now? Okay. Now let's see, where was I at? I just had a on my brain here. I've been splitting my attention all morning long in several different directions, and now my mind's trying to, get its bearings back. Now, how long ago did this here happen? The one with your name, I mean, which...
that was a couple of years ago, in July.
Okay.
July of, must be 2012.
Yeah, I could have sworn I thought I saw it mentioned in your book. Or my,
Yeah, yeah. It's under the chapter, Patrick Drive, Helms Garage.
Okay, so
that's my house. My house and both my house and my garage, they're haunted, so, they're encompassed all in that one. Here, okay. I had sent you the video instead of the VP, but I'm sending it to you now. Here, the Cola Embryon, here, it's on its way right now.
Okay.
You should be getting it right now.
I also want to mention to everybody that's listening in that I personally read Stanley's book, and it's really a very fascinating book. And the beauty of it is, in between chapters at the bottom of the page, I think it's at the beginning of every chapter, in fact, he puts a link to the exact page where the EVPs for that particular chapter can be found to make it easier for you folks to listen while you're reading the history of it and everything he did there and what led up to the, what they were saying, the whole 9 yards, instead of just getting the little bit that you hear on the EVP. So it gives you a bigger, broader picture. Now, that one didn't come in the email yet.
Right.
Check it. I'll check that again in a minute or two. But in the meantime, do you have another one you want me to go with in particular, or should I just pick one off the list?
Just pick one off the list.
All right, let's try the one that says Spirit Loves You.
Okay, yeah.
Spirits of old miners wandering around here right now.
Now, see, that one was not as easy to make out as the other one with the Philip with Brosky. You said it. I'm and I still have trouble with it.
Well, what I've noticed is like when I'm on these shows and they're playing my EVPs, the best thing to do is maybe play them 3 times in a row, and that way you can if you don't hear it the first time, you might hear it the second or third time.
Spirits of old miners wandering around here right now.
You're right. I did catch it on the second time. It seems to be very, very low.
Yeah, because of the. Yeah, well, like I explained in my book, sometimes these spirits they're not in our time and space, so that that doesn't exist for them anymore. So when they speak, sometimes they speak real fast, and you have to really listen really closely because I've heard that a lot from a lot of people that I played my EVPs for. Is like they're talking so fast I can't make out what they're saying. So a lot of times when I do process, I do try to change the tempo of the EVPs or even change the speed so that it would be more distinguishable on what they're actually saying because they do talk so fast. And also, like I explained in my book, for some reason they like to sing song. And they'll sing their responses, I think I sent you one this morning that give him my love. That's when the day after Thanksgiving in 2012, my brother-in-law and I we were watching the LSU Arkansas football game the day after Thanksgiving, and it just so happens that his daddy died around Thanksgiving. Okay. So, and it just so happened in that instance that it was November the 23rd, the date of his anniversary of his father's death. So at halftime, I had a little extra time on my hand, and I told Harold, it's the anniversary of Daddy's birthday, so let's do an EVP and try to contact him. So we went ahead and we did an EVP session, and usually on these special days on like the anniversary of somebody's death or their birthday or your birthday or, for your parents or your day pass or Christmas or holidays, spirits are around us. They like to still participate in, if they can participate, if they can make themselves manifest themselves, but they like to be around all those activities. So anyway, when we contacted him, Harold was talking to his daddy, and he actually said at the end of the session, he goes, "I love y'all and I miss y'all." And I got a response, and the spirit said, "Tell him that I miss him today." Okay, and that was the forward speech. And when I reversed the speech for that one, they said, "And to give him our love." So when I copied and pasted and put it all together, the spirit, the message was, "Tell him that I miss him today, and to give him my love."
Okay, so this one ain't going to be a spirit loves you then.
No, that was give him my love. Okay. That was the name of it. I sent it to you this morning under.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
Is it? Yeah, it should be under the Patrick Drive. It should be under the Patrick Drive email. Let me see. Maybe.
Give him my love.
There you go.
Yeah, I found it. I was just going past it. Like I say, when you got 50 of them right on top of another on a small list, a little box, it's easy to scroll right past them. All right, well, let's give this one a try.
Oh, I know.
How about some chitlins for supper?
Yeah, I love y'all and I miss y'all.
Okay, I had already preloaded one about chitlins, and this thing actually, when I added the other one to it, it played the chitlins first, and then it played the other one. But yeah, I was able to pick up on both of them. That chitlins was really, really, really clear.
Yes, it is. It's just one of my favorite ones. I'll go ahead and if you want me to, I'll explain chitlins to you right now.
Yeah,
too.
I was just fixing to ask you if on that one with chitlins, if you thought that could have been residual energy.
No, because if you read my book, you know that whenever I go and I do a session, I'll do a 3-minute session, and like I said, spirits aren't aware of time and space because it no longer exists for them. So my feeling is that if in a 3-minute session, I might get an answer before, I might get an answer after my questions. Okay, so that when I ask the question, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to take that answer from the beginning of the session and copy and paste it after my question and present that as my evidence. So people say that you're manipulating data. Hey, I mean, I'm not putting an EVP recorder out and recording 12 hours and then processing my data and taking an answer from 3 hours apart. I mean, this is in a 3-minute session, so. Our time, and in our time, that's a short amount of time. And if I get a relevant answer, I'm going to go ahead and use it. But in this instance, for chitlins, they answered my question right after I asked it. So here I am. I'm at Laurel Valley Plantation. I'm sitting in front of the slave quarters. And, chitlins in European aristocracy was a delicacy. And in the slave culture, it's actually they love to make the dish themselves, and if it's fixed right, it's really, really good. So I figured that, well, here I am in front of the slave quarters. I'm going to ask them about one of their favorite dishes and see if I would get a response. And so when I went ahead and say, wouldn't the pork chitlins be good for supper? And when immediately they said, a pork chitlins would be good.
Okay. Now.
Yeah,
pardon me. While I was listening to you, your email came in with the other EVPs in it, so we got those here to listen to now. Okay, but before we go there, I see one right here that I'd like to go ahead and share real quick, and that's called Christian Jumped Off. Is Christian a name of a person or their denomination?
No, that was the name of a person. That was taken over there at not Laurel Valley, at the Wroblewski mansion in New Orleans, where Madame Delphine Wroblewski and her husband, they were they had slaves they had chained up in their attic, okay, and they had tortured them there. But in this instance, for this EVP, what it references probably is that one day one of the neighbors saw Madame Wroblewski chasing one of her little slave girls and screaming at her and chased her up on top of the house, okay? And the little girl, she was just so frightened of Madame Wroblewski that she actually jumped off the top of the house to her death. And rumor has it that Madame Wroblewski actually buried her in that yard under the oak tree out in the courtyard. So what I thought the CVP was referencing was that Christian jumped off of the top of the house.
I know, I wouldn't want to. Well, actually, if it's a single-story house, it's not so bad. But let's give her a listen.
Is there a little girl who jumped out the window? Are you walking here?
That was really pretty clear, too. They said it kind of quick.
Yeah. And the beauty of those EVPs from the Wroblewski mansion is that, just like at Laurel Valley Plantation, I don't actually have to go into these sites, okay? I'm just standing outside on the street, on Royal Street, right in front of the mansion. And it was at a time of day where there is, the tours are over with for the day. There's little pedestrian traffic, okay, and little automobile traffic at that time also. That when I recorded these, I was just blessed to have captured so many good EVPs that were relevant to the history of the site.
Well, can you tell me what makes them sound like they're being cut off at the end of the sentence rather abruptly?
Actually, Royce, what I have to do is because I make these videos right at the end of the EVP, I have to add some low-level noise or just cut them off so that the video software that I use, like if I don't put a 1 second blank noise at the end, it'll cut off the actual EVP itself. So I have to put at least a second of blank noise at the end in order for when the software processes it, I'll be able to have everything in the EVP video. So actually what you're listening to, though, is the EVP from the finished video. So I just took all my EVPs, I put them back in Audacity, the videos, and then I processed them as MP3s to send to you.
Yeah, I have Audacity, but I haven't really got very good at using it yet, to be honest with you. But I got it to.
Well, you know,
what
I plan to do, I've been trying to. I'm going to get my son. My son has a video camera, and one day I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to film myself processing a file in Audacity, and I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel so that everybody can see how I actually use Audacity to process EVP.
Well, I got mine.
I think that would be very helpful because you know, a lot of people out there, they want to use these recorders, and you know, like the one that I use, it's a high end recorder. It's made by Gary Galka at DAS, and it costs like $200. Okay, I mean that's a lot of money for somebody to spend on a recorder. I mean, you can go to Walmart and get a regular recorder for $60, $40 to $60. But the fact is that this recorder that has the radio suite built into it, forward and reverse, okay, for FM, and plus it has an ultra-sensitive microphone on it. It's just so ultra-sensitive. And, you know, when, you know, a novice, when he first starts, he's like, oh, can I record EVPs? Well, he's going to push that record button. He's going to give, you know, he's going to try to listen for something. After he records it, he's just going to play it back. Well, you know, in some instances, the spirits speak below 20 kilohertz, you know, and it's just so low level that odds are that you might not even hear it on just a regular playback, even if you put it on, download it to computer and just play back the wave file itself. But when you take it and you can process it in Audacity and you know what to look for in your peaks and you enhance those peaks and clear out the noise, it's just amazing what you might discover. And for the novice and for the, you know, the experienced ones that don't know how to use their software properly, if you do learn to use your software, it's just going to make the experience, just enhance it that much more.
I had no idea this kind of equipment was really already out in the field and easy to, you know, attain if you had enough money to get it, in other words. So is this sort of like the state of the art?
Yes, it is. And a lot of people, they don't know how to use it properly, so they just use something else. You know, they go get the PSB7 spirit boxes for $60 and say, okay, well, I can hear this. If I hear anything, I'm just going to record it with my video camera. Because that's mostly how these PSB7 spirit boxes work, is that you can take it, you can plug in a speaker to it, you know, an external speaker that you can get. And these little external speakers are like $20, $40, you know, that you can attach to the spirit boxes. And then you just put on your video camera and you record your sessions, you know. And that's real easy to do. But if you go out and you just make, and if you can learn how to use the software properly, then this is, the RT EVP recorder, in my opinion, is the way to go. I mean, it's not only great for doing ambient recordings where you just hit the record button, you make a file, then you bring that into Audacity and you enhance the signals that you receive, you know. But because of the radio sweep technology, and it also, that the radio sweep on this instrument is so fast, okay, that, you know, People always ask me, they go, well, why don't you radio sweep slower so that you can understand what they're saying? Well, you know, in principle, yeah, that's what you think, is like the slower you go, the easier it is for you to understand what they're saying. But that's not how it works. The way it works is that the spirits are speaking over the frequencies, and they're just utilizing the phonemes probably in the radio waves to go ahead and make a continuous statement. It might be slow enough for you to understand it, you know, but the fact is that they're speaking over multiple frequencies, and that's what makes it paranormal. They're just utilizing that energy over multiple frequencies in order to get their messages across.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, Stanley, do they ever, or have you ever thought about trying to scan different frequencies or microwaves or anything like that to see what you get?
What do you mean? I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty well.
You mean other frequencies like a radio ham operated frequencies above the regular normal frequency ranges?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, like on a radio? Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that. I never have had the opportunity to do anything like that, but I think there was this guy, his name was Bocci in Italy, that he used like the radio frequencies that ham operators use in order to communicate with the dead via what you call instrumental transcommunication. But I've never had the opportunity to do that myself, but I'd like to one day, that's for sure.
Yeah, because, see, I have a thought on that, and I'm no expert, of course, don't get me wrong, but it just seems to me like there's a possibility that you could get a lot clearer EVP if you knew where to look for the frequency. I mean, ain't it kind of like you're not tuned all the way in or focused in really good sometimes?
Yeah, and well, the way it is that sometimes there might be a frequency, you just have to find it, where you can just tune into that frequency and hope that you get a spirit voice over that frequency. But basically, the way I explained it, the way Radio Sweep works, is that that's why, if you notice, most of the EVPs that are captured using Radio Sweep technologies are only 2 to 3 seconds long, because of the fact that there's a certain range in that radio sweep, especially I've noticed it on my instruments, okay, that and when you start processing these in Audacity, you learn to recognize it, and you know where the best places are in that frequency range where you're probably going to get EVP. And, there's certain ranges and each instrument, I mean, they're not, you think that they'd all be built the same, but I actually have 2 separate RT EVP recorders, and I can set them up in the same modes, okay, of operation, and one will perform better than the other. I have a preferable one, and in fact, my one that I like for Radio Sweep is the first one that I bought, and my wife got me one for a Christmas present, and I'd rather use the one that she got for me from my ambient ones, because for some reason that microphone picks up the ambient voices a lot better than my one that I prefer for Radio Sweep. So each instrument will be, it's just like if you're a baseball player, your favorite bat,
Right. Well, we all have our favorite.
Yeah.
When I was cooking, I had my favorite pot for spaghetti, my favorite pot for rice, or something like that. So yeah,
that's right, because it makes the dish. It just makes that dish so much better than that other pot.
It's the right tool for the right job. For example,
exactly.
You wouldn't serve, say, soup with one of those big serving spoons with the holes in it, but you might serve mashed potato with it. So yeah, you have to have the right tool for the right job. Of course, some pots will stick easier than others. So if you're cooking something that's more like the sticky, a less sticky surface to cook on. And I'm sure the same principle applies to your EVPs.
Right. Exactly.
Now, here we got one that says, God's life struck me.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me explain that one to you.
Okay.
I was at Laurel Valley Plantation. And I'm there, and they have a old they have an old schoolhouse there that was actually also the church, because it's such a large building. That's where they would congregate on Sundays for their Sunday services, and they have a cross on the front of the schoolhouse, which is, it's like, I have a schoolhouse. It was both. It was both the church and the schoolhouse. And I was just sitting out on the road in front of the church, okay? And, usually when I go to these places, I'll say something like, God bless this place, or can I get a praise the Lord or a hallelujah? Just trying to get the spirits to evoke an EVP based on something that might have interested them, in their past lives, whether it be going to church, et cetera. So in this instance, I asked if I could, get a praise. I think I said I get a praise the Lord or a hallelujah. Anyway, the Spirit comes back and says, God's life struck me. And what it made me think about was like the saints when they get an epiphany, and they feel the presence of the Lord, and they're just so overwhelmed with His the essence of God that they would undergo any kind of pain or suffering just to feel the glory of God again in their souls, okay? Because they had this revelation, or they had a moment of rapture, okay? So that's what that EVP evoked in me, in my thinking. So, but it was pretty amazing for me to get that EVP after I had said something like that, to ask for a religious statement, and it was pretty much of a profound statement that they gave me.
Wow. Yeah, I read a book called The Master Game Plan by Robert Bauval, and I think it was Graham Hancock, but I'd have to look at the book title to be sure. And they talked about the fact that many of the people that used to give their lives during the Inquisition actually did so with a smile on their face, and I'm assuming probably for the same reason you just mentioned, in other words.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, let's give her a listen.
God bless this church.
Okay.
I heard it sounded kind of like it was, breaking up, but you could hear it.
Yeah, it's God's life struck me.
Yeah, something like that.
It almost sounds like a young person. It just was pretty amazing to me.
Well, let's try God's love of you. Do you have any history on that one you'd like to share?
Yeah, that was over there at Rita's Tequila House in New Orleans, and my niece, my wife's niece, runs the establishment. She's the manager there, and what happened was that she called me up to let me know that she wanted me to come down on the weekend, because that day her cook, he was coming down the staircase from the attic where they had storage up there in the attic part of the establishment, and a shadow person ran by him and really freaked him out, okay? And so I went over there, and we went upstairs into the storage area. And while I was up there, like I said, I just went ahead and I said, God bless this place. And a spirit voice comes on and tells me, Stan, stop it. And then another voice comes on and says, God's love of you. I don't know what it meant, really don't know why, but it's just the fact that they said that after I had blessed the place, It was just pretty neat.
Made you feel good, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I would think so. It'd make me feel good. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's give her a listen.
Isn't that something?
Now, you say you can't actually hear these while you're recording them. It's when you get them back and process them, right?
No. Right. Because there's, some of them are such low level that I have to clean them up and amplify them. And then, when I make my video, you'll be able to see this, that, you have these little bitty peaks at the baseline, for the wave that's coming across the screen, okay? And then after you do all these passes with these different effects from the software, all of a sudden, these peaks just pop up like out of nowhere, And that's really cool to me. It's like, all of a sudden you have these peaks, and then when you play them, you have these voices that come out. It's like, oh wow, if I just had ultra-sensitive hearing like a dog, I could probably hear this at the time that it happens,
It's an interesting thing you mentioned, because you ever notice when you're sitting around the house watching TV, out of the nowhere, your dog's ears are perking, they might even start barking, and you're sitting there trying to figure out what's got their attention. Ever wonder if maybe they can hear something on frequencies we don't, like EVPs?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, well, look at a dog whistle. You can't hear nothing, but they can because of the frequencies that it's at for their hearing. That's why, Royce, like, we're being human, we only have 5 senses in order to experience this world around us. But there's just so much more, because there's so much more around us that we can't perceive, because we don't have all of these senses built into our organism in order to experience what's happening around us. So, I mean, you could be battered by X-rays right now and be fried and get cancer, but you wouldn't feel it because your senses can't perceive X-rays. So that's just a good example right there of a frequency that your body's not built to perceive, but it does exist and can affect you physically. Right,
kind of like you need a microscope to see atoms. It just the right tool for the right job. Again, and the human body's kind of like a restricted tool. You can only do so much.
Right, and that's why you see all these paranormal shows. They're always coming up with new devices. Oh, I've got a full spectrum camera now. It covers everything from infrared to ultraviolet and everything in between. So the more frequencies you can accomplish for your detector on your instrument, the more likelihood you might capture something.
That makes perfect sense. Now, this one here says, "I don't feel welcome." Do you have some history on it?
Oh yeah, this isn't radio sweep. This is ambient EVP. I just put on the recorder. I was down at the Woodland Plantation, and I was up in the captain's quarters, and I was trying to contact Bradish Johnson. Bradish Johnson was the son of the original owner, William Johnson. Now, Bradish, his father sent him to school in New York City at Columbia University, and he actually became a lawyer. And he never applied for the bar because his father died and left him the family businesses. They actually owned 3 distilleries along the waterfront in New York City, in between 17th Street and 34th Street. And so eventually Bradish ended up selling those properties on the island of Manhattan, and he was pretty rich. He was wealthy like the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers at one point in history up there in New York. And but anyway, Bradish supposedly he was given the property down here from his oldest brother Edward, and Edward told him that I'm going to sell you the property, but only under the pretenses that you give the slaves $50 each and passage back to Liberia. Okay, within 5 years, I want that to happen. This is pre-Civil War. Okay, this is during what's called the African diaspora. Okay, where they were making a country to bring the slaves back to in Liberia. Well, needless to say, Bradish, he didn't fulfill his part of the bargain, okay? And his brother actually sued him, and the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. And I don't know what the final outcome was, but I just recently found out this history from the owner, Foster Capel told me this a couple of weeks ago. And if you go back in the history of woodland plantation, they actually will tell you that the slaves were given the opportunity to leave the plantation, to be free, but they loved it there so much, and they loved their master so much that they didn't want to leave, which actually isn't really the case, okay? So written history doesn't really portray the actual facts of what happened at that plantation. And so when I went to contact Bradish Johnson, I said, Bradish Johnson, make your presence known. And on the EVP, on that wave that was created, wave file that was created, I had this peak there, and I couldn't believe it. When I played it back, it's a gruffly whispering voice, and the voice says, I don't feel I'm welcome here. I feel like they're going to kill me. So, I don't know if it's Bradish Johnson that's there, he doesn't want to make his appearance because he's afraid that the slaves would kill him because of what he did to them, having them enslaved like that and the way they were treated. Or it might have been, I might have mistakenly pulled up the spirit of the overseer. There was this overseer that lived there. His name was Decker. And he was the overseer for the plantation when Bradish Johnson wasn't there. And the history says that Decker was very cruel to the slaves and that he was very lecherous with their women. So much so that after the Civil War, they actually called down the Union. Well, during the Civil War, they called down Union officials to come down to the plantation to try to see what the conditions were because of Decker. And so that's probably one of my best EVPs. That's an actual, real, true EVP because it's ambient without any radio sweep.
Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get this here played. I remember what I was going to say now. This here, what you're telling me, brings up an interesting question for me anyway. That can the dead be killed?
Exactly. That was my question too, Royce. When I picked that up, it's like, why would a spirit be afraid of being killed? Unless it's a residual thing, or maybe they I guess if a spirit can tell you, if a spirit can emit an emotion of love, like you've heard in the past EVPs that we've just played. Can a spirit evoke an emotion of fear, such that he would be afraid of being killed, even though he's not alive, or maybe he doesn't even know that he's dead,
Well, could it be that, or could it be there's more to reality than what we know?
Well, that's a good point. Maybe he's in a parallel universe right now and he's still alive. He would be scared of making himself appear because he knows what happened in this dimension, and how that there might be some vindictive people after him if he would come back.
Oh, I can imagine that. So let's give this one a listen and see what happens. It sounds almost like he was whispering it.
Oh yeah, he was. It's a whisper. It's a ghost whisper, but you can understand what he's saying. That's what just amazes me. It's like, why did he say that? A lot of things these spirits say, you question it, and it's like, why did he say that? And we'll never know because we can't really hold a whole conversation with them yet. But one day we might.
Well, one of the things you just pondered on that last EVP was, did he not know he was dead? Or is it possible that he could be dead and not know it? And I guess it must be possible because this EVP is titled, I Was Killed, I Think I'm Dead. So it sounds
that one,
sounds like he's not even sure he's dead. Is it the same person?
No, that was from Rita's Tequila House, the one that you said, Yeah, I think I was killed. I think I'm dead. Yeah, that one's from Reese's Tequila House. That one there.
Okay.
I asked, "How did you die?" Yeah, that's a good example right there. That one's pretty clear too.
All right. Well, you want to go ahead and play it, or do you have a little history you'd like to give us?
Actually, that was upstairs in the attic where supposedly we found out after the fact that somebody was actually committed suicide up there. And what was astounding on that investigation was that when we were there, like I said, I don't hear what's picked up on my RT-EVP recorder when I'm doing the radio sweeps. But I had just gotten a PSB-7 spirit box. And so when I did a spirit box session, and we could hear in real time what the spirits were saying. And when I asked, how did you die, spirit on the PSB-7 actually said, hung. And I was there thinking that, when they say suicide, I thought maybe they, it's New Orleans, they might have had a gun, blew their head off or something like that. So we actually had gotten on the telephone and called the owner to find out if he knew the history of the suicide that took place there, and he actually told us that the person that died there was hung. But anyway, this is a radio sweep EVP that I picked up, and it's real clear when they say that I was killed. I think I'm dead.
Okay.
And, that's just like it's just like we were discussing that sometimes it depends. I mean, if it was a tragic event where they were accidentally killed, and it just happened so quickly that they don't even know that they're dead. They're probably still wandering around there thinking that they're alive and not knowing that they can go to the light because it's actually passed,
Yeah, that's something else I wonder. Have you ever had anyone tell you that they were having trouble looking for the light or anything in reference to the light?
Not really. I haven't, but I do send them now. Whenever I go some places, I'll let them know that on Monday nights at 2 a.m. in Rockville, Maryland, Reverend Neil Farley has he's been doing this for like 5 years. Every Monday night, he has a spirit rescue event where the spirits can go there, and Reverend Neil Farley will escort them to the light.
Oh, okay.
I just want to throw that in since you mentioned going to the light, because that's he really wants us investigators to let the disturbed souls out there know that he actually has an event where he will help to escort them into the light over a 2-hour period at his house in Rockville, Maryland.
Boy, I'd like to go investigate his house for haunting after he passes on.
I tell you what, I'm going to send you the link. I'm going to send you the link to his website. I don't know if you've ever been there, but he films it every Monday night, and he picks up orbs, and in the orbs you can actually see spirits manifesting themselves. And it is beautiful. It's beautiful artwork to me. But he doesn't sell it or anything. He's just capturing these spirits as they're going into the light.
Well, I guess that just blows the dust ball theory out of the water in some cases, doesn't it?
Hey, exactly. Yeah, he would be somebody you would like to talk to on this show. I guarantee you would have a good time with Reverend Farley.
Well, I can sure enough get him here. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and give this one a listen.
How did you die?
Okay.
That was another one that was saying it in kind of a jerky fashion. But yeah, you can
yeah.
You can make it out, but he's breaking it into one word at a time. Now, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
This one says, just me. You got a little history you'd like to give us with that?
What's the name of that one again? I'm sorry.
Just me.
Oh, just me. Yeah, that was over there at Woodland Plantation. And when I asked if there were any spirits walking there, I got a voice that said, just me. Just me. A casual conversation. Yeah, just me. I'm here.
All right, let's give her an ear.
Are there any slaves in here?
So he's the only slave in there.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, though, if you think about it, that's not to say he's the only person in there. You were asking if there were any slaves. What if there were masters in there or free people in there?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I was in the big house, so there's only a certain number of slaves that are allowed to work in the house. You know, most of them work out in the fields.
Okay, the next one says, Killer Isaac Clyde whipped me. Or,
yeah,
not
that
killer,
was
I mean
there.
killed.
That was. Yeah, that was over there by the Lowry Mansion. I was standing out in front of the Lowry Mansion, and this was talking about the atrocities that were imposed on these slaves that lived up there. In that mansion, when they had a fire. Okay, actually, supposedly the cook was chained to in the kitchen, and he was tired of being the abuse that he was suffering, so he lit the place on fire. And when they came and they put out the fire, and they went up in the attic, they found the slaves up there that had these atrocities imposed on them by Madame Lalaurie and her husband, who was a doctor. And they would take limbs, and they would cut limbs off of the slaves and sew them on, different parts of their own bodies and make them look grotesque. And when the officials went up there during the fire and found all of these slaves, they were chained up there and had all these atrocities committed upon them. Supposedly, Madame Lalaurie, they escaped somehow, and they disappeared, never to be seen again. So this one, just the fact that they had all of these atrocities imposed on them there at that place. It's just so disheartening.
Right.
And I feel such sympathy for them. And when you hear these spirits, they have another one that says Elton. He was killed, and I have one that's really not too clear. But if you have good headphones, you can hear where that spirit said, "They killed my brother. They tortured him. Bad madam choked him." But in this instance, on this EVP that you're getting ready to play, they let us know that they killed Isaac Clyde Whitby.
Okay.
And that's when I asked what Madame Lalaurie did to you.
All right, well, let's give her a listen.
Okay.
What did Madame Lalaurie do to you?
Okay, now, Stanley, was it just me, or were those, was the sentence broken into two things and spoke by two different voices?
Two different voices, yeah. I'll get multiple voices sometimes.
Yeah, it sounded like
and
one of them.
A lot of times,
it sounded like one of them said killed Isaac, and then a different voice said Clyde whipped me.
Right, and Clyde Whitney's real deep voice, yeah, uh-huh.
So I wondered if that was just me or...
No, these are two different spirits speaking. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So everybody wanted to speak at once.
And sometimes... Yeah, and when you... as I explained in my book, for some reason, they like to sing song, and some of these responses, you'll hear like a chorus of voices saying the same thing. And that's what's really amazing. It's like they're utilizing multiple voices to get their messages across. So it's like we don't know how a spirit exists. Is a spirit singular? Can a spirit, or do spirits meld together on the other side? And they're a multiple entity. We don't know. We won't find out till we ourselves go over there. One day. But that's the beauty of this, is that you never know what you're going to get. You never know if you're going to get a singular voice. You never know if you're going to get a chorus of voices. and you never know what messages you're going to get.
Well, at least one thing about it, it never gets boring.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, we got one here that says moving like God.
Now that is a wonderful one because of the fact that this was at Maywood Plantation, and at Maywood Plantation outside of Napoleonville, Louisiana. This is a mansion that was built in Greek style with big columns in the front. They have a big ballroom, and the beauty of this plantation is that they have the family graveyard that is in the back of the house. And so Barbara and I, we had gone out there after midnight, and we had done some EVPs out there. Then we came back to the house, and there's a kitchen. And kitchens for plantations were always built off of the house because of the threat of fire that might occur. And they wanted to localize it to just the kitchen. So the kitchen, actually, you would go through the house, step down some steps, and then you would go enter the kitchen. And it was a receiving room for the bed and breakfast guests. That's what they refurbished it for, to serve them, like mint juleps and some hors d'oeuvres when they arrived in the afternoon. So anyway, after we did these EVPs at midnight, we stopped off in the kitchen. Nobody around. There were another couple in the house, and they were already in bed. And so I set up my Kodak camera, little digital camera, put it in video mode, and put it on a shelf, pointing out into the room. That's why if you look on the video of Moving Like God, that's the actual video, and you can't see anything. You might see a little bit of a light, and I just put a lantern, a little electric Coleman lantern that emits such little light the camera couldn't really pick it up too good at all. But while that camera was on in video mode, I picked up a disembodied voice, and you can tell that it's a woman, and it's a smooth, clear voice. And the two responses that she put on my camera in the audio section of there were 30 seconds apart. And the first thing that she said was, moving like God. And then I had a 30-second pause in the camera, and then all of a sudden you hear the same voice comes back, and she says, choose all of their slaves. So I put them together in the EVP video that I made. You don't want to sit there for 30 seconds waiting for it again. And put it all together. And then by putting it together, you can hear that it's the same woman's voice. And it's just so fascinating and this is just an instance of letting everybody out there know that, hey, you might be taking video with your camera or with your cell phone or whatnot. And usually you're looking at video and you're looking at the event that you just recorded. But next time you do a video, listen real close to the audio part of that video because you never know what you might hear.
Yeah, I can imagine it. I mean, there would be no way to know it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're not really listening for it. You're looking. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give her a listen.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounded kind of like he was distant, but you can make it out.
Right. Because they're speaking at such a low frequency. And that's another instance where this isn't on a fancy digital recorder. This is just on, like an $80 Kodak camera that's just put in video mode. But yet, you can pick up these spirit voices where if you had good hearing, you would actually hear them when they were saying that in the same room. That's what's fascinating.
Equipment makes a difference. What can I say? All right. Here's a big ouchie right here. We got one that says, my neck broke.
Yes. That is, that's from Keith Blair's Bed and Breakfast, where supposedly Amalie Como, she had, her husband died, she went to live with her brother, and supposedly when she went to live with him, she was pregnant from her dead husband, and then she had a stillbirth. And the baby was born next to her husband in hollow ground. They were Catholic. And one night Amelie woke up, and she went out to the cistern. It was an in-ground cistern to get a drink. It's like an in-ground water tank. And she fell in the cistern, and she drowned. Well, the church ruled it a suicide, so she wasn't allowed to be buried in hollow ground next to her husband because of that. It was ruled a suicide, and that's against church doctrine. So supposedly Amelie haunts the grounds of T. Freres, turning on TV, throwing the dishes around, pulling people's toes in the middle of the night. Well, when I recorded it, and when I brought my equipment, and I'd stayed there several times, before, and I had experiences there, physical experiences where they pulled my toes, rubbed my knees, and actually held me down in the middle of the night with my covers. When I woke up, somebody had jumped on top of me, held me down for 10 seconds, and then finally let go. Well, in my EVPs, when I finally got my recorders and I recorded over there, the spirits were telling me that she was murdered, that she snapped her neck repeatedly, then he dumped me, got poor Pius to help him, neck broke. I certainly would imply neck broke. 1, 2, 3, Amelie. That's what's in that EVP that you're getting ready to play right now. That's what they said. My neck broke. I certainly would imply neck broke. 1, 2, 3, Amelie. Wow. They actually say Amelie. If you listen real good, and you can hear Amelie.
All right. Let's give her a listen.
How old were you when you died?
Now, see, that time I heard some male voices and female voice, so it was more than one gender.
Right. Yeah, multiple spirits. Right. And I don't know if you can find it, but if you can find "Snapped Her Head," it's related to it's in from the same place, and that was what.
Well, here it is, right here.
I heard that.
Go ahead, I got it right here.
Go ahead. That's snap. Okay, they say, snapped her head repeatedly, then he dumped me, got poor Pius to help him. And what this was telling me is that what happened is that she might have had her neck broke by her brother because of the fact that she was what we would call a spinster, okay? She was really a maverick. She would drive around in a buggy without wearing a bonnet and stuff like that, things that were taboo in those days. And her brother might have gotten upset because she was embarrassing him out in public. And the spirits are telling me that he might have killed her and deposited her body in the cistern. But we don't know because we don't have access to if there was an autopsy done or anything like that. And it's in the past. It's not recorded history, and I don't want to imply that this actually happened. It might be just spirits manipulating me and my equipment to make us think that this happened. But this EVP says, snapped her head repeatedly, then he dumped me, got poor Pius to help him. So maybe she was killed and dumped in the cistern instead of it being a suicide.
Okay, let's see.
Keep her to kill you, is that what you just told me? No.
Ah. You know what, though? That sounds like a radio tuner drifting in and out of frequency while you're doing it.
That's because it's radio sleep. But it's just the fact that these voices are speaking over multiple radio frequencies, that it's not like it's just sitting on one station and you're listening to a radio broadcast. That's the beauty of radio sleep.
Now, real quick, before I forget, let's take a quick moment to remind everybody that you can learn more about Stanley by going to his website at www.CajunGhostHunter.com. And if you scroll down below the chat room, you'll see his book cover, his picture, link to his chat room, and his book made available from Amazon.com if you want to click on it. and it's called Paranormal Investigations. It'd be a great tool to have. Take it with you when you go to his website, and you'll be able to have a whole
also
picture.
on the
Go ahead.
On the lower left, the right-hand corner is a link to my YouTube page for videos that are not on my website.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I'd also like to take a moment to let everybody know, if y'all didn't catch it at the beginning of this here show, that I made a deal, or we're going to be teaming up with Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com, to where every Thursday, Talk Now Radio is going to be on their slot from 2 to 4. Would love to have you come listen in over there. They got a lot of people already in the chat room over there, because they've got many different hosts over there that a lot of times people just hang out there and chat while they listen to several shows in a row. Not saying you might want to do that, but, still it's an interesting place to check out. It's a great way to, kill off some time, and, you can hear the shows, because, the shows over there, they might be posting to YouTube, but I don't think they're going to be in my archive over here. I don't know yet. I haven't worked that out. It could be, but, you still would not have a chance to, ask live questions in the chat room unless you were at their site, because it won't be broadcast live here, at the same time. And even if I did put a player over here, they would ask me to stay in their chat room to, monitor the questions coming in over there. So I really recommend listening to the show over there live, where you can ask questions of the guests while you're there, and maybe even make you some new friends. And don't forget, I've got this here app right below the chat room for Android for y'all to download and put it on your Android telephone, so you can listen to my show wherever you're at, as long as you got your Android with you. I've also been searching around. I've found a place for $6 a month. I could get players as well as apps for Android and iPhone, which you only need it for iPhone now. That's not a bad deal. I'm going to probably look into that and try to get an iPhone application as well. And I'm also working on getting the player situation fixed. I finally got a player that will show up in Internet Explorer. The problem with it is the sound's not coming through it yet. But if I've got it that close, I'm probably not far away. And when I do get it, we'll be able to hear my show in all browsers again. And we'll be able to hear it on Mac again like we could before. So y'all, just bear with me. Keep checking back. Little bit by little bit, I'm getting all this ironed out. And we got new things going on. Now, we can go back to the EVPs at this point. Let's see where we're at. Okay. This one says, people die. Is that ignorant?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. It's like I was there, and this is at Rita's Tequila House upstairs in that attic over there. And when I asked the spirits, "How did you die?" People, multiple spirits came on. Okay, one said, "People die." Another spirit said, "Help me." Okay. And then you hear these spirits that go, "I know," and then this guy, and it's just a real long sentence, and he says, "Derek, they're asking, is that ignorant?" It's like he's telling me, it's like, yeah, we're dead. I mean, he doesn't know that, if he's talking to spirits, is that ignorant,
Well, I'm pretty sure to him he thought it was.
It's really... Yeah, it's because they're kind of humorous there. He was probably laughing on the other side at me, calling me stupid.
Sounds like an outspoken spirit. All right, let's get
exactly.
How did you die?
You know what? You can make out that word ignorant really clear.
And that's something. And look, I'm in downtown New Orleans, you know what I mean? And they're going, "Derek, they're asking, is that ignorant?"
I don't know. Is it, Roger? No. Okay, now this one here is Rita's hanging. You got a little history for Rita's hanging for us?
Yeah, this is the one where I'm doing the PSB7 that I told you about, where I went ahead and I asked, how'd you die? And they came on the PSB7 spirit box in real time and said, hanging. And right after we did that session, we got on the phone and found out from the owner that the suicide that was committed there was actually a hanging.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. That intelligent response.
Okay, let's give her a listen.
How'd you die?
That sounded like it might have been her answering you personally.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And the next one in line.
That was pretty amazing.
Says Stanley, hi, Amelie. Is that pronounced Amelie?
Amelie, that's correct. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I kept wanting to think it was Emily. I don't know why they had no E on it. Anyway, so what can you tell us about Amelie? Stanley, hi, Amelie.
That was a spirit. That was the spirit over there at T. Freres when I asked Amelie, are you here? Because, whenever I would go spend the night at T. Freres, because that used to be one of my regular places to hang out when I go to work on that end of the state, and I would always tell my mother that I was going to spend the night at T. Freres. She goes, "Oh, you're going to visit your girlfriend, Amelie." Okay, so that's the spirit that haunts T. Freres that has committed suicide. And in this instance, I asked, I said, "Amelie, are you here?" And then I hear this voice that goes, "Stanley?" And I go, "That's right, my name's Stanley. Hi, Amelie." This was during a PSB7 Spirit Box session. And it's pretty amazing whenever you hear spirits say your name like that, especially directly after you ask a question. You know, it's like they know you're there.
Okay. Well, let's see.
And now we know they're there too, because we can listen to them.
Right. All right, let's give her a ear.
Amelie, are you here? That's right. My name's Stanley. Hi, Amelie.
Well, I can make out Stanley pretty easily.
Yeah, and it's like an inquisitive response. You're like, Stanley? It's like, it was real time, so it was pretty amazing,
All righty, now
and it's a woman's voice too. On top of that,
I noticed that it definitely was a female voice, and it sounded like a younger female.
Right. Somebody that was taking in her prime,
Okay, now this one here says, Stanley, meet me.
Yeah. That one is from Laurel Valley Plantation. And this was like one of the first times that I had ever been out there after I had gotten my RT EVP recorded. And this was during May of 2012, and that's when they had this religious leader that I forgot his name. Anyway, he was predicting the rapture, and this was on a certain day in May. He had made a prediction that was the day that the world was going to end, and everybody was going to, fly up to God in the rapture. Okay. And so I'm there on this special day in the afternoon at Laurel Valley, and I did an EVP recording, okay, and Radio Suite. And when I got back to the house, I immediately processed it, and it was a voice that had said my name clear as can be, and told me to meet him back there at 6:40. So I'm, in my book, it's like, was this spirit saying, Stanley, meet me back here at 6:40 to participate in the rapture because the spirits are all going to God? But needless to say, the rapture didn't happen. So, and I didn't go back to meet him either.
You said not today anyway, right?
Exactly.
Okay, then. Let's give her, let's lend it our ear.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try that again. Sound like he tried to just slide that meet me in real quick.
It's speaking real fast. It's feeling me back here at 6:40, and it's like, whoa, it's like, I mean, but it's such a long sentence, It's just like, if I was talking to somebody on a cell phone and they were giving me a message, it's like I turned on my messages and somebody was speaking to me real fast, leaving me a message real fast. Still, meet me back here at 6:40. It's like, oh, wow. And the crazy thing is that there's no, you don't hear any noise, interference, and anything like that when this message was given. It's like he spoke over the radio frequency. It was so clear that, you wouldn't think that it came from a radio suite.
Okay. Now we got one here that says Will had cancer.
Yeah, that was from Woodland Plantation. And what I was doing, Royce, is I played the clarinet. So what I did was I was like using my clarinet like a spirit conjurer, okay? And in the background, you can hear me playing the clarinet. I'm playing Ave Maria. And while I was playing Ave Maria, I just put my digital recorder on, okay? And I got these EVPs that said, we think Will has cancer. Will got small. Will safer. Will suffering hell doesn't feel bad. And in this instance, the one you're getting ready to play, I go, Will safer. How did you die? And then they go, oh, this is Will had cancer that you're going to play. Okay. This was after I had played the other ones. And then I just went ahead and I digitally recorded this one and asked, Will, how did you die? And they said Will had cancer.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's and this is in the Roost, where supposedly when the owner was refurbishing the establishment, he and a friend of his went out fishing, and they came in, they had supper, and his friend was going to sleep in the Roost, okay? And he woke up in the middle of the night, and he looked at the foot of his bed, and there was an apparition of a young boy. There was a young boy standing at the foot of his bed. And he thought maybe the boy had gotten lost, and he was supposed to be staying with one of the guests in the house. But then he said, I remember locking my door. And so when he looks at the little boy again, all of a sudden he just floats up and disappears into the ceiling. And so what I'm thinking is that maybe this is a young boy that died from cancer, and that's what the spirits were telling me, that Will had cancer. We think Will has cancer. Will's suffering hell from the ravages of cancer. So, but anyway, they let me know Will had cancer, and it's multiple times that I have heard this over there at Woodland Plantation. This sentence that the spirits let me know that Will had cancer.
Okay, well, let's give her a listen.
Will safer. How did you die?
Yeah, it sounds like he kind of rushed that one out, too.
Yeah, right.
I'm assuming that Will must have been a pretty popular character over there.
Well, the original owner was William Johnson, so I'm sure they had several Williams in the history of the plantation. And in fact, they also had his son Bradish. There's several Bradishes they also had in their family history. So Will and Bradish was a popular name probably in that family, throughout history.
All right. Well, listen here.
The original owner was a riverboat pilot, and then he became a plantation. Yeah, he was actually a pirate. He was a riverboat pilot, and he was a pirate. And he was in cahoots with the pirate John Lafitte. And John Lafitte would bring the slaves to him, and he would house the slaves in dormitories on his property for auctioning in New Orleans.
Well, now you know where he got his money at.
Yeah.
Okay, now this one here says Will Safer, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Will Safer. Well, he says his name's Will Safer. That's when I was asking. First, I had asked him if he was the one of the grandchildren of Braddock Johnson, and a little voice told me yes. And so then I asked, "What's your name, little boy?" And a voice told me, Will Safer. And it was the same voice as the voice that told me yes when I asked if he was one of the grandchildren of Braddock Johnson. So that's the first time that I heard Will Safer. So after that, I was always asking for Will. Whenever I go in that room at the Roost, I would always ask about Will. So.
Okay. Let's give her an ear.
What is your name, little boy?
Boy, that did sound like a little boy, didn't it?
Oh yeah. I never heard the word. I never heard the surname of Safer. So I don't know. If I'm what it is. I don't know if that's really a name or if it's a nickname or whatever it is. But we do hear Will, which is a prominent name over there at Woodland Plantation. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he sounded to be about, say, 8 to 10 years old, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and if you look on my website, in my chapter there, I have a PSB7 spirit box session. It's called "He's Not Dead," and it's on the Woodland site. It's on the Woodland page. It's towards the left-hand bottom of the page. It's called "He's Not Dead." And in there, I actually did a spirit box session in the captain's quarters. I asked Will Safer, how old were you when you died? And right after I asked the question, I get 8, and then I hear 9, and then I hear 10, all in sequence. 3 different numbers given by the spirits tell me 8, 9, 10. So it's basically around the age of the young man that you hear in this EVP that the voice sounds like is about between 8 and 10.
Yeah, it really does. At least to me it did. Now, this one here says you're growing doom.
Ah, yes. Here's another camera. This is my wife had gotten me a little Vivitar infrared camera, for Christmas one year. And you can go online, and this model is like about $60. It's an expensive camera, but it actually can film in infrared, okay? So I woke up. This was taken at actually Halloween of 2011, okay? And I woke up, actually it was on All Saints Day. I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I went to the bathroom, and I got up, and I turned on my infrared camera, set it up in the corner of the bedroom, okay? Then I went and I got back into bed. And then I'm there thinking to myself, I go, did I hit the record button after I turned that darn thing on? So actually in the video on the website for EVPs from T. Frere's Bed and Breakfast, you'll see me. I'm pulling the covers off to go back to check the camera, and at the same time on the camera, a voice comes on the camera. A disembodied voice says, "You're growing doom." I mean, it's just so creepy because of the fact that this is Halloween night too.
Well, did you decide that you'd done enough EVPs for today and it was time to pack up and go home?
Look, when I got home the next day and I processed the video, because I had to upload it to my computer. And when I heard that voice, it's like, oh my God, what's he referring to? Do I have cancer or something? What is it? My growing doom,
I don't know. That sounds kind of scary to me. All right, well, let's listen to her.
It is.
Let's give her an ear. Let me try that one more time. Whoops, I missed. There. Yeah, you can make it out, but you got to listen really close.
Yeah. That's one of those disembodied voices at low frequency, like 20 kilohertz. And it's just amazing now. Just totally amazing.
Now, listen here.
And it sounds so creepy though, because it makes me wonder, was that Amelie's brother? Talking to me, trying to scare me away because I was on to him, and possibly murdering his sister.
Maybe he's not aware that he's passed on, huh?
Maybe not. They want to get in trouble.
Yeah, it could be. You never can tell. I mean, we've never been on the other side to say what they do or don't know, or, did they, like if you die suddenly, do you, maybe not even aware that you are dead and you think you're just continuing to live, and if that is
like in the movie Ghost. In the movie Ghost, he doesn't even realize he's dead at first, and then when the truth hits, it hits hard.
I was saying, and what's reality like for you if you don't know you're dead? I mean, do you see cars going by? Can you still drive your car? Are you in a phase of reality like ours here is now, and that's why you don't know, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Maybe you're existing in a parallel universe where you are doing the same thing, and don't really realize that you don't have a corporeal body here on Earth anymore, and now, in the old reality.
Okay, well, let's give this one an ear real quick.
Spirits of old miners wandering around here right now?
I had trouble making that out, but I heard a male voice say something. Let me try that again. This is A Spirit Loves You.
Spirits of old miners wandering around here right now?
Okay. I made out your voice saying, is there spirits of old miners around here right now? I remember reading that in your book. So,
right. And what happened there was we were in Las Vegas, and we got a friend of mine that owns this great Indian restaurant. He's from Oklahoma, and he's a chef that serves food from India. Okay, and it's called the Samosa Factory. But his name's Rick Ako, and Rick had told me about this place called the China Ranch Date Farm. And actually, Rick Ako is the one that told me. He says, I told him what I do with the paranormal, and he says, you should be the Cajun ghost hunter. I said, I like that. So that's why he's actually the person that named me. But we had gone to the China Ranch Date Farm, and it's out in the middle of the Mojave Desert, on the other side of the border from Nevada and California in Death Valley, and near Death Valley. And it's like an oasis in the middle of the desert where they have date palms, okay, and they serve dates. They sell dates all over the country. They make all sorts of different desserts too that they package and sell, especially around Christmas time. And they're all alone now. I mean, there's nobody else around there in the middle of the desert. And they have some trails that go out to the mines around that, close that shut down around there. So we weren't dressed really to go hiking, So we just went down one of the trails, maybe a couple of 100 yards. And while we're going down this trail, Barbara's there, and she's getting bitten by these flies, and they're just biting her all over the place. And nothing was happening to me, but I'm there, and I saw this piece of timber off the trail down a slope. So I went down the slope a little ways, about 15 feet. And I put my hand on the timber, and I asked if there were any spirits of old miners there, trying to use the piece of timber as a trigger object. And that's when I picked up the voice that said, "There's a spirit who loves you." And when I got home and I processed that, it just blew my mind, because it was an intelligent response and telling me that there's actually, there is a spirit out there that loves me, that there's a spirit that can still have an emotion that they had when they were alive, I'd like to know who the spirit was. Maybe it was the spirit of my mother. I don't know. But it was an angelic voice to me, and that was really, and it's a female angelic voice, so that's really something special to me.
And that's on this one here on Disembodied Howls? Or
No, Disembodied Howls. Now, Disembodied Howls, this is really creepy because of the fact that that's at my mother's tomb. And this is an ambient recording. It's not radio sweep, so you can't say it's radio interference because it wasn't radio sweep. It was just turn on the recorder and listen, okay? And I had my head up against the faceplate of the tomb, and I turned on my recorder. I was talking to my mother. When I processed it later at my house, this is what I heard, and it was just so creepy. And, it evoked the image of the old Greek, in the Greek mythology, the three-headed dog Cerberus, who guards the gates of Hades and doesn't allow the spirits to cross back over from Hades back into the real world. And that was just creepy at my mother's tomb to ever hear this playing, because it's just really creepy.
okay. Well, let's give her a listen then. Man, it'd make you think there's wolves out there, wouldn't it?
It could make the hairs in the back of your neck stand up, man.
They're not calling me to eat, exactly. They got a new twist on it.
Sounds like a pack of wolves, huh? They're calling you because they want to eat you, yeah. Sounds like a pack of wolves or something, huh?
Okay, now, this one here says, give him my love.
Yeah, that's a good example of forward and reverse speech. And I think I had mentioned that one earlier in the show here. That's where Harold, my brother-in-law, tells his parents, I miss y'all and I love y'all. And that's when we picked up the voice that said, tell him that I miss him today and to give him my love. And that's just, just to think that your loved ones have passed and you can talk to them and they will give you a message from the other side telling you that, yeah, we know you're there, hey, Stanley, we know you're processing, you're doing this, so you tell Harold this for us. Tell him that we miss him and we love him as much as he misses us and loves us. This is a very, very moving EVP to me.
Okay, well, let's give her a listen and...
Yeah, I love y'all and I miss y'all.
That was a pretty deep voice.
Yeah, tell him. And then you hear the chorus. It's the chorus. Tell that we miss him today and to give him our love. The sing-songing again. But in the sing-song, they're giving us a really, really sweet message. Sweet message of love.
Right. Now.
Isn't that something? That's just something.
Now, here we got one that says, happy with Daddy.
Happy with Daddy.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, that's got to be... Let me pull that one up. I'm over here. I'm on my website pulling them up so I can read what they say in the videos. Okay. Let's see. I asked my mom, are you happy? Okay, this is a good example of how do you know the spirits are talking to you? How do How do you know that? Well, in this EVP, I asked my mother, I'm at the in front of the tomb, and I'm asking her if she's happy in there with Daddy. And you hear the voice, and it sort of sounds like my mother, too. And only the close-knit members of my family when I was growing up would call me Stanley Jr., okay, because I was named after my father. And so nobody else out in my business, relations or anything like that, nobody calls me Stanley Jr., only my close family members. So when you hear this EVP, I'm asking my mother, are you happy in there with Daddy? I'm in front of the tomb asking if she's happy in there with him. I just want to know if she was with my father again in heaven and if they were both happy. And you hear this woman's voice, and she goes, Stanley Jr.'s back. Like, I'm back to talk to her again, because I was going out there every weekend to talk to her. So that was, to me, that was a touching EVP to me. It gave me comfort knowing that she knew that I was talking to her on a continuous basis.
Okay. So this should sound like a little child's voice.
Are you happy in there with Daddy?
More like a woman's voice.
Let me try that one more time.
Are you happy in there with Daddy?
Okay. It was very, very low.
Back.
Huh?
Yeah. You can hear the back. Stanley Jr.'s back.
And then there's one here that says Harold and Barbara Paul. P-A-W.
Yeah, that is, let's see. That's back at my house. Can you pull that one up here real quick, too? That was taken in my house here. We were recording at my house. And, the beauty of this EVP is that, my wife, his name is Barbara, and her brother's name is Harold. And we were doing EVP here, Harold and we were doing EVP. And I picked up the voice that when I was talking to her father. The voice says, think about it. Harold and Barbara's paw. So it's kind of letting me know that it was their father, Gordon, that was talking back to me in the EVP. And mentioning both of their names simultaneously, that was just, that was something for me.
Oh, I bet it was. All right, well, let's give her a listen.
Oh, yeah.
Let me try that one more time. That was kind of hard to make out. Yeah, it sounds like there was a little static in that one, but yeah, you can make it out.
Oh, yeah. It's noisy, yeah. Because think about it. Harold and Barbara's paw. Yeah.
All right, now this one says Hilda loved Patricia.
Yeah. When my mother died, my nephew was my sister Patricia. Her son, my nephew Randy, had been living in my mother's house while she was in the nursing home. So that, we can have somebody living there running the air conditioner, keeping the house from falling apart.
Right.
And after she died, because we were trying to settle the estate, and Randy was still living in the house, okay? And it took us a while. There was a lot of family arguing, bickering because of the fact that Randy was still there, and we couldn't finalize the estate. And
yeah, I remember
finally,
reading about this one in your book.
Yeah, he finally moved out, and when he moved out, my sister and I, we had fallen apart for a while. Everybody in the family was at wit's ends over this. And so All Saints Day was coming around, okay? And so we had the family tomb over there in Thibodeau, and I invited my sister to come with me, come visit me over here, to come listen to some of my stuff, and so that we could go over there and to place flowers together at my mother's tomb, the family tomb. So while we were there, I brought my EVP recorder with me, and I figured that, hey, look, when you have relatives with you, and you've been doing this for a while, you can get the spirits to talk to you. And so in this instance, I actually told my mother directly at the tomb, in front of the tomb, to tell Patricia that you love her. And immediately I had this response that said, Hilda, love Patricia. And the spirit was letting me know that it was, by saying her name, spirit was letting me know that it was Hilda, my mother, letting us know that she loved my sister, which is pretty profound, especially to have an intelligent response like that immediately after asking the question.
Right. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and give this one a quick listen.
Mama, tell your daughter you love her.
Yep, you can hear that one. Now, I wanted to mention to you, Stanley, that we've been going a couple hours. We didn't talk in advance how long you was willing to go, so I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
I show that you still got 11 EVPs on here that we can play. Do you want to ride over a little bit further until we get all these here EVPs, or do you have something going on?
Well, sure.
Okay.
Oh, no. My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Let's see where we're at. This in here says Hilda loves Patricia. Didn't we just do Hilda loves Patricia?
Yeah, we sure did.
Whoops. What I've been trying to do so I wouldn't get them mixed up and do what I just did was immediately delete it right after I play it. But I got to talking to you and I didn't watch what I was doing. Okay, now this in here says,
okay.
I love Bernadette.
Yeah, here's another good one. This was done at the nursing home where my mom passed. She actually passed away at the nursing home. And her roommate was Miss Bernadette Bro, okay? And I had, after I started recording using EVP recorders, I went and visited Miss Bernadette. And Miss Bernadette was very receptive to what I was doing. So she gave me the opportunity to go ahead and record with her present in the room. And while I was doing this recording, once again, I immediately, asked the spirit of my mother to tell Miss Bernadette that she loved her. And I got an immediate response that said, I love Bernadette. And that was another simply amazing response by spirit, especially saying Miss Bernadette's full name like that. Her first name's like somebody else's full name. I mean, it's a long first name, Bernadette. And that's pretty amazing.
Every time I hear that name, I keep wanting to think of Bernadette Peters.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here we go. I love Bernadette.
Mama, tell Miss Bernadette you love her.
Let me try that again.
Mama, tell Miss Bernadette you love her.
Yeah, I could hear her in there. It sounds like she's kind of breaking up a little, but that's pretty common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Okay, this in here says...
Bernadette, she was a... go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this in here says talking for Blondie, but go ahead and what you were saying.
Oh, I was just going to say that when I had played that back for Miss Bernadette and she heard it, she was just tickled pink.
Okay. Now, this in here says I'm talking for Blondie.
Yeah, that's, I know this was taken down out at the Jolet tomb, at my family tomb, and when my aunt Blondie, her name was Althea, but my mother and her family nicknamed her Blondie because of the color of her hair, and Blondie had a series of strokes, and she was kind of had to get around in a walker at first, okay, and she lost the ability to speak, okay. She couldn't really hold a conversation with her anymore. And my mother, if she would speak, she used to. My uncle was a millionaire, okay, but Aunt Blondie was like the bookkeeper for their businesses, okay. So she was involved with the numbers, okay. And it was kind of what happened there at the end was that after she had these strokes and she couldn't talk, when she would talk, she would just start talking in series of numbers, okay? She would be like 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and she would just talk numbers, okay? So anyway, what I was getting at is that my mother was her power of attorney after she had these series of strokes and was in the nursing home. And so for me to get this EVP, it sounded like a female voice, and it sounds like my mother saying, "I'm talking for Blondie." It just makes so much sense to me because my mother, after my aunt's series of strokes, was the voice of Blondie. She would be talking for Blondie because Blondie couldn't talk for herself any longer.
Okay, so it helped you identify. All right.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's give it a listen. Yeah, I can make it out, but it sounded like a very, very tiny young voice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Talking to Blondie.
Listen, here says, let's make more love.
Yeah, that's related to my nephew again. We were having trouble getting him to move out the house, my mother's house, to sell it. And finally, when he got word that he found the place and whatnot, and I had gone to the tomb right before he moved out, I let my mother know that we finally getting Randy's finally going to get Randy to move out, and you can hear a voice comes on and says, "God heard subject. Let's make more love."
Okay.
It's like, let's quit having family bickering amongst ourselves. Let's just have love between all of us. That's the message I got. And, to me, that was like getting advice from the other side after my mother had already passed.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, well, let's give her a listen then.
You might finally get Randy out your house next month.
I had a little trouble making it out. There was some barking in the background.
I'm sorry. That's Foo-Foo.
Oh, okay. I thought Foo-Foo was a bigger dog.
Oh, no, he's a little miniature poodle, a little rescue dog.
Oh, okay. So that other dog that looked like a shepherd you did that thing with on Facebook, like he was talking and about the food carrying on thing, that was not Frou-Frou then.
No, right.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. All right. Well, let's try it one more time.
You might finally get Randy out your house next month.
Yeah, was that me or was that like a young male voice that was saying that?
Oh, that was me.
Okay.
You might finally get Randy to move out. Yeah, that was me.
All right. And now this says my favorite ghost house.
Yeah, I was there telling. I was there with that's when I was at the tomb with my sister when we finally made amends together. and I was letting her know that that whenever I record, especially at my house, that they all, for some reason, it's my mother. I know my mother's presence is here in this house, and she was always worried about my son Philip. He's an Iraqi war veteran with PTSD. So whenever I do record at my house, I always get spirits asking, "How's Philip? Help Philip. Philip this and Philip that." So I was letting my sister know when we were at the tomb that they talk about Philip at my house. And so when you hear me, I'm there telling her, they talk about Philip at my house, and you hear her, she says, "What?" And then you hear a spirit comes on, and he says, "My favorite ghost house."
So he calls yours his favorite, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Well, let's give her a listen.
They talk about Philip at my house. They're so worried about Philip.
Okay, that was pretty neat. So is that saying that your house is his favorite one?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, listen here says.
Well, you know that. It's their favorite ghost house. They even come talk to me, but for you.
Okay, now listen here. This one says, Philip, help him.
Yeah, that's really an amazing one because of the fact that my brother-in-law Harold and me, we had gone to LSU football game, and we were waiting out by the lakes by LSU. It was a beautiful day, and of course we had a lot of time before the game started, and you got to get there early to park, or else you'll never get a parking place near the, close enough to the stadium. So when we were out there, I went on the back of the truck. I got out my PSB7 spirit box, set up my camera, and I did a spirit box session. And I asked the spirits, "What is my name?" They come on and say, "Stan." I said, "How did y'all die?" Spirit voice comes on and says, "Philip, help him." And so when they heard him say Philip, they say, "What's my son's name that's back home that didn't come with us today?" And they come on, and they, you hear a pause, and you hear him say, "Philip," and I go, "Philip?" And then they say, "Jude." I said, "Jude, Philip Jude, that's right, Philip Jude." And then they come back, and they go, "Philip, help him."
Okay. Now, your dad or your granddad?
Huh?
No, I was going to say your dad.
No, that's my son.
No, I know your son is Philip, but didn't you say you also had a dad or a granddad named Philip too?
No, no, that's my mother. My mother's always talking about Philip. That's probably her or my father. Yeah.
Okay.
Philip, help him.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's give her a listen.
My name. How'd y'all die?
Yeah, I made out that Philip helped him.
My son's name that's not with us today.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a minute, still going.
Dude, that's right. Little dude.
Okay, yeah, you can make out Philip help him. But now I noticed this phenomenon.
Say it twice.
Yeah, I did. But I was going to say I noticed this phenomenon on some of the other EVPs on your site when I was picking some out the other day. You hear that kind of like a ghost.
Yeah, that's the radio sweep from the spirit. That's the spirit box. Yeah, because the older spirit boxes, you're going to hear that, a lot of noise, and they detuned them now because of radio interference. That's what's causing that as it's sweeping. And you have to listen real close because you're going to always have that. And it's a background noise that you really can't have it negated even when you clean it up with software. But yeah, that's real time though. So you're just listening to a video recording there of the spirit box as it's operating.
Okay. Now the next one says "Pretty Girl."
Yeah, that was one of my first EVPs ever, and that was right here in my garage at my house. And I had bought this property. Well, actually, there was a garage apartment on my property at one time. Okay, and I still have the lower part, but the upper part I had to raise it because it started to be falling apart. But and I made a garage. I put a roof on top of the lower section. But in the upper section, when it was a garage apartment, they had this man and this woman that lived there with their daughter. They were Kenny Helms and Miss Sue Helms, and they had a daughter, Kathy. And I actually lived in a house across the lot. They had a field here where they used to have a garden, okay, and we lived in another house next to them. And I ended up moving out from the house after after he died. She moved away, then she sold that property to me where I put my present home. But anyway, one day one of my grandchildren, they came over and they brought a friend with them. So they wanted me to try out my spirit box with them in the garage. So we went in the garage, and Mr. Kenny had died, and so I was trying to contact his spirit. And so anyway, what I did was the little girl that was with my granddaughter, she said, can you tell Mr. Kenny hi? So when I'm doing the EVP, I said, Haley says hi. Can you tell her hi, Mr. Kenny? Hello. And I got the spirit voice immediately after that. It said, you sure are pretty, girl.
All right.
Oh, let me tell you, when I came up here and I processed it, oh yeah, the kids got a kick out of that one.
All right, well, let's give her an ear.
Haley says hi. Can you tell her hi, Mr. Kenny? Hello.
Yeah, I can make that out. But it was kind of like one of those broken up ones. You are pretty girl, but yeah, you could hear it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And this one says Stanley Jr.'s back.
Yeah, it's up the tune again. And that was in another session, different from the first one that you heard where my mother says Stanley Jr. is back. So, it's like, wow. I mean, you always hear that, sometimes you go back to the same places and you hear the same thing over and over again. Well, in my case, I'm over there. I was over there at the tomb every weekend for months at a time. It must have been about 6 months that I go there every weekend and record. So to hear it again, it's obvious that you would hear Stanley Jr.'s back.
All right, well, let's give her a listen.
Where were you at lunchtime? I was having me some fried perch.
Okay. Now,
my mother loves fried perch. Philip had gone catch some perch the day before, and that's what I was asking her if she wanted some fried perch. Because I always use food to try to evoke a response from spirits, and usually it pays off for me, too.
okay. Yeah, I used to go fishing with Michael Raymond every Saturday, and we'd catch a lot of perch and a lot of brim because he did a lot of freshwater fishing, and he'd make sure that I learned how to clean them and all of that stuff. So we got to, have fish for just the cheap cost of your bait and your tackle.
Right. My mother loved to fry perch. She loves to fry up a perch, and then she would eat the crunchy tails after they were fried up because she loved that for some reason. She loved the taste. She loved the flavor.
Okay. Now this one here says stay with God.
Yeah, that was a pretty profound one. I got I think this was last year, about 18 months ago, and it was it was referencing me, and it talks to my sister Pat. It's like giving my sister Pat a message from the other side, and it says, and it's a high-pitched voice, okay, and it starts out and it says, "God is into Stanley, Pat," and then the reverse speech is, "Pat, we're going to stay with God." And it's like, whoa. It's like where my parents were telling me that they were, that God is in all of us. He's into me. He's into Stanley Jr., Pat. And Pat, we're leaving now. We're going to stay with God. We're on the other side. We are in heaven.
All right. Well, let's give her a listen. Now, that time I could hear him say, "Stay with God," but it sounded like while you were, it was drifting, making the sweep. It was also picking up radio stations, and they were talking like in between the stations.
Yeah, yeah. See those dang radio stations? They're interfering with my EVPs.
Now, we're almost through. Listen here says, tigers.
Yeah, that was the same day that we did Philip Help Me. And that was just such a, it was intelligent responses. When I asked who the LSU mascot was, they said Tigers. I said, "This is LSU. What's their mascot?" And you listen, and they say Tiger. And then there's a pause, and another voice comes on and says, "Tigers." I go, "Tigers, that's right, LSU Tigers."
All right, well, let's give her a listen here then. Where we at? Here it is.
Who's LSU? What's their mascot?
Yeah, it sounded like a small female voice said tigers.
That's right, LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
You got her to say it twice.
Yeah, how about that?
All right.
I just, it just amazes me, Royce, is that people go out in these investigations and they spend hours and hours, trying to get evidence, and I don't know why it is, Royce, but I can go everywhere. Everywhere I go, I can put on my equipment and I can get an EVP anywhere I go. And a lot of them are profound. Just recently, when I stayed at Woodland Plantation during the ice storm on the 29th of January down here, I got stuck down there in Venice, so I had to spend the night at Woodland, and I had all my equipment with me. And I did an EchoVox session, and I downloaded EchoVox to a new tablet that I got, and I can email the file to my Google Drive and download it into Audacity and actually process the EchoVox files now. And I just processed, I've been processing my data from that session. I had this most profound message that I processed yesterday. And it said, "God's Spirit will guide you." And it's like, what a beautiful statement, for everybody,
Okay. Well, let's make a run on this here, Philip Wroblewski. Was there anything you wanted to say on it real quick?
No, we already discussed that one, I believe.
Okay.
That's Philip Wroblewski?
Well, yeah. Have we already played it? Cause I think you had more than one.
I think we have. Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay. Well, then we've done them all.
Yeah. We've done them all.
That must have loaded it twice. Cause when you emailed them, I'd already loaded one set into the folder, And then when you email some more,
Right.
I saved them all to the same folder and reload it. So that's how you get double reloads in the Queen, in other words. Because it reloads everything that's already in there, as well as what you pulled to the folder, in other words. I thought I got rid of all the duplicates, but I guess I hadn't. So,
okay.
That was fascinating. But I don't want to let you out of here quite just yet. I want to make sure you got an opportunity to tell everybody of any other things you have going on that maybe you'd like to ask people to be a part of, or, what, like invite them to events or signings or anything like that.
Presently, I don't have anything in the works right now, but I'd appreciate your listeners if they go to my website and check out my book at www.CajunGhostHunter.com. The links on the left are for Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and my publisher, Trafford. You can contact me. Also, there's a link right there on the left to contact me from my website. Or you can contact me at Stanley Jolets at CajunGhostHunter.com. And my name on Facebook, Stanley Jolets. You could friend me on Facebook. I'd be more than happy. And also, you can join me on my blog. I have a blog for paranormal investigations for Cajun Ghost Hunter Chronicles on Facebook. And if you like my videos on my webpage, check them out on my YouTube channel. There's a link to my YouTube channel on the lower right-hand corner of my homepage.
Okay, and one more time.
That's about it.
One more time, everybody. I'd like to remind y'all once again that starting April 20th on a Thursday, I'm going to be doing a 2-hour slot. Talk Now Radio is on the Revolution Radio network at www.freedomslips.com. Be more than happy to have y'all join us over there. Join everybody else that's in the chat room, and we can just have us a great time. Don't forget, I've recently got the app installed for the phone. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there, but for the Galaxy Android phone. And in addition to that, right now, the only player I got working is the Windows Media Player, and I've got it to working in Firefox and in Google, at least on some computers. My wife said that it didn't show up in hers earlier, and she didn't get to hear the show. So I don't know how many people of you out there couldn't get in for the same reason, but I'd like to apologize if that did happen. And I am working on the Flash player. It's the only one, this one particular Flash player is the only one I found that would show an IE if I can get the sound going through it. So y'all keep checking back. And if y'all couldn't get in to hear the show live, you can catch it at the YouTube archive. It'll be in the archive here at my site. And there'll be another copy of it over at Daily Motion. And it'll probably get shared with Facebook and Google when I post it to YouTube. I think they do that automatically, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Stanley, it's been a pleasure having you here. Want to let everybody know, thank you for being a listening audience. Couldn't have a show without my listeners any more than I could without my guests. If you did nothing but listen, you participated, and I do appreciate it. My next show will be, right now, real quick before I forget to tell everybody, I think I got my list open here somewhere. Folks, bear with me just one quick second while I open up the list that I thought I had open. Well, what am I doing? On my front page, I put the whole month up there. All I got to do is scroll down. Okay, my next show is going to be with Philip, is that Philip Mendel or, no, I'm sorry, Ed Comerick, and it's going to be UFOs, Exopolitics, and the New World Order. And that's going to be this coming Wednesday, February the 12th. And that's 7 p.m. Central Time. The other time zones are listed right there underneath the show airs live Wednesday if y'all want to check it in your time zone. And then next Saturday, I'm going to be having, if I can see his name on here. Oh yeah, Dr. Foreman, Robert Foreman. And we're going to be talking about enlightenment ain't all it's cracked up to be. So I'd hope to have you guys show up for that one and we have a good time. This show we just now did, I'll be working on it either tonight or tomorrow. and getting it put in the archives and up at YouTube. So it should be there by Monday at the latest, if not sooner. And I'll be sending Stanley here the links to it. With that, I'm going to call this here a wrap. You folks have a good weekend and don't do anything I wouldn't do if you could find such a thing. Right now, the only player I have working at my site is Windows Media Player, and the last time I checked, it is only working on in Google Chrome. So, I'm working on Flash players from Muse. Part of my problem has been that recently there was a Internet Explorer upgrade. During the upgrade, the new Internet Explorer does not accept plugins for like Flash anymore, which makes it hard for me to understand why when I add the Muse's Flash player, it shows up in Internet Explorer, but I'm not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm still having difficulty though, because when I enter the URL, I should hear sound coming from it, and I don't hear sound coming from it, and I don't know why. So I plan to work on that this week, and if I can get the Muse player working, then I should have a player for every browser as well as for Mac, which would put us in good shape over here, especially after I get the iPhone connection up. So don't give up on me, folks. I'm still working on this and trying to iron out all the kinks. In the meantime, please install Google Chrome and feel free to listen in on the Google Chrome through Windows Media Player. Now, I have given my guest the... Wait a minute. I didn't see that. He gave me a number to call him at. Okay, let's see if he can... Oh, I hear him ringing now. Stanley, did you answer?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, evidently that second number you give me is working, but the first one is not.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I tried calling you just now on the first one, and it just rang and rang. Nothing's connecting.
So evidently then it was not my equipment, it was on your end, we just didn't know it.
I guess so.
Well, I looked in the chat room, I says, wait a minute, he gave me a number to call and I didn't see it. So, all right, we're live now, that's the important thing, and we can continue on with the show. I gotta tell you, you've sent me something like 53 EVPs to listen to.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we have some to choose from.
Okay. Now, I also wanted to ask you while I'm thinking about it, did you get the review that I told you I left for you over at Amazon on your book?
Yes, I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot, Royce.
Okay, just want to make sure you knew about it. Okay. Now, folks, if y'all would like to learn a little bit more about Stanley and listen to more of his EVPs than just the ones we got here, because we're not playing the whole batch here. We'd be here quite a while. His website is www.CajunGhostHunter.com. We will be sharing quite a few of these with you, however, give you a kind of a taste in this. And of course, we're recommending that you get his book, and it'll give you all the background information about each and every one of these EVPs. He's got them marked on the website so you can know which ones go with which chapters or which sections of the books to help you keep up with it and give you an idea of what you're listening to while you're actually reading it at the same time. So, Stanley, you said you had some new things going on, new EVPs and that. You've been busy lately?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I just recently went back to Woodland Plantation last week when we had the ice storm down here. And I captured some really good stuff there with I actually did Echovox applications there and had a lot of success with it. But we've also, in November, my wife Barbara and we had gone to Grand Cayman and spent a week down there. And I just had so much activity down there on both my recorders and my cameras. It was outrageous, really and truly, because I couldn't believe all the stuff that I captured on all of my equipment.
Okay, now you said on your camera, so I take it you got some pictures on your website?
Actually, I made some EVPs, overlaid videos from the camera. I picked up disembodied voices on my camera. What happened was we had gone to the Lighthouse Park. It's at the east end of Grand.
For authors, filmmakers, entertainment, and all your listening needs. Listen now to Talk Now Radio, where no topic is taboo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be the Cajun Ghost Hunter, if I can manage to raise him on the phone. I've just tried to call him 2 or 3 times, and it would show to ring, but I wouldn't hear it, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then it would disconnect. And I see that my guest is in the chat room, so I'm thinking that he could probably hear me and hoping that he will call me. Did you get it? Huh. And I don't see your mother logged in. Okay. Now, folks, while we're waiting on Stan to call in, I'd like to let everybody know that starting Thursday the 20th, I'm going to be teaming up with Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and my network's going to do a weekly appearance over there, a 2-hour slot from 2 to 4 Central Standard Time. And I'm going to be lining up, actually I've already got a couple of guests lined up to get me through the end of this month over there. And I would love to have you folks join me over there, and I think you'll like the chat room. It's already got a load of people filling it up. Give you somebody to talk to, make it easy for you to ask questions, and the whole 9 yards. Don't forget, also, I've recently, right below the chat room, added a app for Android. And I might have something in the making real soon for iPhone. I found something for $6 a month if I can squeeze it into the budget. Don't sound like a lot, but in today's economy, you'd be surprised. Now, there was something else new going on that I also wanted to mention as well. Oh, yes.
Cajun, where they had a major shipwreck back in the 1800s. It was called the Wreck of the Tin Sail. And when you park out on the road and you walk up these steps, and the steps are like about 3 feet in width, and you go up maybe about 40 steps, and you're up at the top of a hill where they used to have a lighthouse. And they had an old gas kerosene lighthouse up there that they decommissioned, and they put an electric one in front of it. And it's basically just a flashing light now. But they put a wall around it, okay, and they put some little monuments all around there talking about the history of the lighthouse and the history of the Wreck of the Tin Sail. And a little bit to the left of the stairs as you're going up there, halfway up the hill, they have a monument. It's like 4 posts with a canopy on top of it, and they actually have a couple of graves in front of there that are unmarked, okay? So while I'm up there and I'm doing a EVP session on the old lighthouse, Barbara's standing up in the front near the wall looking down towards these graves. And while she's just standing there, all of a sudden, the earth gives way under her left foot. She sinks down about 6 inches, and she said she looks down, and the ground was like bubbling up around her foot, and she pulled her foot out of there, and she felt like a snake was trying to get her or something, okay? So she said she grabbed a stick and poked around in there, and nothing was happening. So then she comes running over to me, and then she says this. She actually evoked one of my EVPs that I did from the Woodland Plantation. She tells me, she goes, "I call them up from hell myself. Come see that." I said, "Well, baby, what are you talking about?" She goes, "I was standing over there," and she said, "and something tried to get me." I said, "What?" I said, so we went over there, and I looked at it, and sure enough, you could see you could see the little hole in the ground where her foot had sank. And I said, maybe you just had a vision when you saw the earth bubbling down there. She goes, "No." She goes, "It was real." So, anyway, the next day we had gone back to our hotel. Okay, we went back, and when we were going to eat at this little restaurant called The Vines. It's right before the lighthouse park. So we were heading towards town, and I said, let's stop so I can take some pictures. I said, I want to take some pictures of where your foot sank, because I didn't get any pictures that day. I forgot to take some pictures. So just in case, anything shows up on the EVPs that I took, I'll have something, to overlay them on, some pictures from the place, So I went up there and I took some pictures. And of course, while I was there, I went ahead and I did a spirit box session. So I turned my camera on, put it in video mode, and did a spirit box session. And when my spirit box session was over, I turned off spirit box, and I still had the camera on. So I told the spirits, I said, I said, my camera's still on. I'm getting ready to turn it off. If you have anything to say, come say it to this blinking red light right here. Needless to say, I had a voice, a disembodied voice. They said, "I am Cola Embryon here." So when I processed it, when I heard this on my camera, I put it into Audacity. I processed it, and I did the reverse speech of it. In the reverse speech, he says, "Stay, play with me, don't walk down." So all together it says, "I am Cola Embryon here. Stay, play with me, don't walk down." But that was pretty awesome.
And that was an easy to make out EVP?
Oh, yeah.
I take it that's in one of the ones that you sent me this morning?
I'm not sure. If it's not, I'm going to send it to you right now. If you want to play it in a little while, I'll give that to you right away.
Okay, well, I tell you what, in the meantime, we can give them a quick sample. Do you have a preference of which one you'd like to hear me run on here first?
Yeah, because like I had written in my email this morning, that a lot of people, even a lot of investigators that are out there in the paranormal world, when they look at they see the radio sweep technology, they think that, there's a radio stations that you're just picking up radio frequency, radio signals, you're picking up music, voices and whatnot, and because they're overlapping, you're just hearing what you want, essentially pareidolia. So I have for your viewers out there, my pen name is Stanley Jolets. My real name is Stanley Wroblewski. Okay, whenever I go out in public or whenever somebody reads my name and asks me, what is your, they'll try to say my name, Stanley Wroblewski, Stanley Wroblewski,